I am Imani Rowe, and I am 29 years old. For most of my life, I believed I was the problem in my family. The odd one. The mistake that somehow slipped into a picture-perfect household. I learned early to shrink myself, to speak softly, laugh lightly, and never ask why I felt invisible even when I was sitting right there at the table. If you enjoy real, emotional stories like this, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. Your support keeps stories like mine alive, and you never know who needs to hear this today. That Christmas Eve in Brighton Hills, our family dining room looked like something from a magazine. A long mahogany table, gold napkin rings, candles that smelled like cinnamon and vanilla. My mother, Ruth, had spent the entire day cooking, determined to make everything perfect, for everyone except me. I could feel it in the air. That tightness. That sense that something was coming. My older brother Dario sat across from me, relaxed, confident, already halfway through his second glass of wine. He had always carried himself like the world owed him applause. Law school graduate. Family favorite. The son who could do no wrong. My father Paul barely spoke, focused on carving the turkey with unnecessary precision. My younger sister Talia kept glancing between us, nervous, her fork hovering above her plate. Then Dario smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind that warns you too late. He reached under the table and slid a gift box toward me. "Open it, Imani," he said loudly. I saved the best for last. The room stilled. My mother's hand tightened around her wine glass. I noticed it, but I didn't understand it yet. I hesitated. "You didn't have to get me anything." "Come on," he laughed. "Don't be shy. This one's personal." I peeled back the gold wrapping paper slowly. My fingers went cold before my eyes fully registered what was inside. A DNA paternity test kit. For a second, no one spoke. Then Dario burst out laughing. "So," he said, leaning back in his chair, "we can finally settle it. Are you really Dad's kid? Or are you the mailman's like people used to joke?" The laughter came fast and loud. My aunt laughed. My cousin snorted. My father let out a short, uncomfortable chuckle behind his napkin. And my mother smiled. Not surprised. Not shocked. Just ready. Something inside me cracked, then went completely quiet. I looked down at the box again. The words blurred. My chest felt hollow, like all the air had been sucked out of me. This wasn't teasing. This wasn't humor. This was humiliation, carefully planned and publicly delivered. "What?" Dario said, still laughing. "Relax. You've always been different anyway. Might as well know why. Different." I had heard that word my entire life. When Dario got praise for his grades and I got tutoring. When he got a car at 16 and I got a used bicycle at 20. When his mistakes were brushed off and mine were remembered forever. I slowly lifted my head. "I'll take it," I said. The laughter stopped. My mother frowned. "Imani, don't be dramatic." "I'm not," I replied calmly. My voice surprised even me. "I'll take the test." Dario blinked. "Wait, seriously?" "Yes," I said. "But on one condition." He leaned forward, curious now. "Let's hear it." "When the results come back, we sit down together. As a family. No jokes. No walking away. We face whatever the truth is together." He grinned. "Deal." He reached out his hand, confident, smug, certain he was about to win something he'd been preparing for his whole life. I shook it. That night, I lay awake in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling fan as it creaked in slow circles. The test kit sat on my nightstand like a ticking bomb. I thought about all the times I'd felt like a guest in my own home. All the times I wondered if I really belonged. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend Nessa. "Are you okay?" Talia just called me crying. I typed back slowly. "They gave me a DNA test at dinner." She called immediately. "That's not a joke," she said. "That's cruelty." "I know. And people don't do things like that unless they think they're protected by something." "What do you mean?" She paused. "I mean, make sure you're ready for whatever comes back." 2 days later, I submitted my DNA sample at a private lab downtown. The technician was polite, distant, professional. "Results in about 3 weeks," she said. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to question my entire existence. 3 weeks to wonder if the story I'd lived my whole life was built on a lie. And I had no idea yet that the lie wasn't about me at all. The days after Christmas moved strangely, like time had lost its rhythm. Some hours dragged so slowly they felt glued to my skin, while entire days disappeared without leaving a trace. Everywhere I went, that test lived in the back of my mind, humming softly, reminding me that something fundamental about my life was under review. My mother, Ruth, started calling more often. Too often. "Are you eating well?" she asked one afternoon, her voice overly gentle. "Yes," I replied. "Work okay?" "It's fine." A pause. Then, "You know your brother didn't mean anything by that gift." I almost laughed. Almost. My father, Paul, did the opposite. He avoided me entirely. No calls. No texts. When I visited the house to pick up a coat I'd left behind, he stayed in the garage until I left. His silence hurt more than Dario's cruelty. At least Dario was honest about who he was. And Dario himself? He became unbearable. He started dropping by my apartment unannounced, leaning against my doorway like he owned the place. "So," he'd say casually, "you nervous?" "About what?" "Finding out you're not really one of us." He smiled when he said it, like this was all a game, and he already knew the ending. My younger sister Talia texted late one night. "I'm sorry about Christmas." That was it. No excuses. No jokes. Just sorry. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Thank you." 2 weeks into the waiting period, I threw myself into work. The community center was loud, chaotic, alive. Kids argued over crayons. Teenagers practiced dance routines in the mirrored room. None of them knew or cared about my last name, my family, or my DNA. To them, I was just Imani, the woman who showed up. One afternoon, a little boy named Evan tugged at my sleeve. "Miss Imani," he said, "why do grown-ups smile when they're mad?" I knelt beside him. Sometimes smiling is how people hide things they don't want others to see. He nodded seriously. "My grandma says hiding makes things heavier." Smart kid. That night, I dreamed I was standing in front of a mirror, but my reflection kept changing. Different faces, different eyes, none of them quite mine. I woke up with my heart racing, the word different echoing in my head like a curse. Then, 15 days after I submitted my DNA sample, something unexpected arrived in my mailbox. Not the results. A letter. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, and addressed in neat handwriting. The return address stopped me cold. Whitmore and Hale, attorneys at law. My grandfather's lawyer. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Dear Miss Rowe, as the legal executor of your late grandfather Elias Rowe's estate, I am writing to request a private meeting with you. Your grandfather left documents explicitly intended for you, and only you, to be delivered under specific circumstances. Please contact my office at your earliest convenience." My grandfather Elias had been gone for nearly a year. Losing him felt like losing oxygen. He was the only one in that family who never made me feel like I had to earn my place. When Dario was away at college, Grandpa Elias and I spent long afternoons together. Him telling stories, me reading aloud when his eyes got tired. "You're not invisible, Imani," he used to say. "Don't ever let them convince you otherwise." I called the lawyer immediately. "Mr. Whitmore speaking. This is Imani Rowe. I received your letter." "Yes," he said, his voice calm and deliberate. "Your grandfather was very clear about timing. Can you come in tomorrow afternoon?" "What is this about?" I asked. A pause. Family matters. The next day, I sat in Mr. Whitmore's office, surrounded by dark wood shelves and framed certificates. He looked exactly how I remembered. Silver hair, sharp eyes, a man who had seen enough family secrets to last several lifetimes. "Your grandfather came to me 2 years before his passing," he said, sliding a thick folder across the desk. "He suspected something was wrong in your family." I swallowed. "Wrong how?" "He noticed how differently you were treated." My throat tightened. "He conducted his own investigation," Mr. Whitmore continued. Quietly, carefully. What he found, he wanted protected until the right moment. I opened the folder. Inside were medical documents, letters written in my grandfather's handwriting, and a DNA test report dated years ago. But it wasn't mine. It was Dario's. I stared at the page, not fully understanding what I was seeing. Probability of paternity, 0%. What does this mean? I whispered, even though my body already knew. Mr. Whitmore met my eyes. "It means your brother is not your father's biological son." The room tilted. "Your grandfather discovered that your mother had an affair while your father was away years ago," he said gently. "He believed that the reason you were treated as the outsider was because redirecting suspicion away from your brother protected her secret." I felt sick. All those years. All those jokes. All that distance. It had never been about me. "He left strict instructions," Mr. Whitmore added. These documents were to remain sealed unless your parentage was publicly challenged. Christmas flashed through my mind. The laughter. The test kit. So the seal is broken, I said quietly. Yes, he replied. By their own actions. When I left the office, the world felt sharper, louder, heavier. I sat in my car for a long time, gripping the steering wheel, breathing through waves of disbelief and rage. 3 days later, my own DNA results arrived. I opened the email alone. 99.9% probability of paternity. I was my father's daughter. Completely. Undeniably. I didn't cry. I felt cold. When Nessa came over that evening and asked what I was going to do, I answered without hesitation. I'm waiting, I said. For what? For Dario's graduation. The 6 weeks between receiving my DNA results and Dario's graduation passed with an eerie calm. On the surface, life continued as usual. Underneath, I was preparing for the moment everything would change. My mother became frantic in subtle ways. She called too often, asked strange questions, tried to control small details of my life. Are you still coming to the graduation? She asked one evening, her voice tight. Of course, I said. What will you wear? I haven't decided. Silence stretched. Then, maybe something neutral. You don't want attention. I smiled to myself. Attention was already guaranteed. My father finally called 3 weeks before the ceremony. His voice sounded older, heavier. Maya, it's Imani, I corrected gently. Yes, Imani. I just wanted to say, I hope we can all enjoy this day as a family. I didn't argue. We will, I said truthfully. Just not in the way he imagined. Dario, on the other hand, was thriving. He sent smug messages. Big day coming up. Hope you're ready. Once he added, no hard feelings about Christmas, right? I didn't respond. With Mr. Whitmore's help, I prepared everything carefully. Copies of the documents. Legal verification. My own DNA results sealed and certified. Grandpa Elias's handwritten letters, explaining why he investigated in the first place. I wasn't improvising. I wasn't acting on emotion. I was standing on truth. The graduation took place at Arden Hall, a grand hotel ballroom dressed in white and gold. Over 200 guests filled the space. Lawyers, professors, family friends. My mother's pride was on full display. Dario stood near the stage in a tailored navy suit, basking in praise. When he saw me, his smile flickered, just for a moment, before returning stronger than before. I wore a deep red dress. Not flashy, not apologetic, bold enough to be remembered. My mother rushed over. You came, she said, relief and fear mixed in her eyes. I said I would, I replied. You're seated at table 9. Of course I was. The program began. Applause followed speeches filled with praise and admiration. My father spoke about sacrifice and legacy. Dario spoke about hard work and destiny, making subtle jabs about people who play victim instead of earning respect. His eyes found mine as he said it. Then my mother approached the microphone to begin the toast. That's when I stood. I'd like to say a few words, I said calmly, stepping forward before anyone could stop me. The room shifted. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. My mother whispered sharply, Imani, this isn't the time. It is, I said, and took the microphone. I faced the audience, my hands steady. Good evening. For those who don't know me, I'm Imani, Dario's sister. Tonight, we're here to celebrate achievement, truth, and family. My mother's face drained of color. At Christmas, I continued, Dario gave me a paternity test as a joke. In front of our entire family. Everyone laughed when my place in the family was questioned. A wave of discomfort moved through the room. I took the test, I said, holding up the document. And I'd like to confirm, publicly, that I am my father's biological daughter. A 99.9% match. Relief crossed some faces. Confusion crossed others. But that's not all. I lifted the second folder. Our grandfather, Elias Rowe, suspected something was wrong long ago. He investigated quietly. What he discovered, he left in the care of his attorney. I looked directly at Dario. This is your DNA test. Silence crashed down like a heavy door slamming shut. Dario, I said evenly, you are not Dad's biological son. Gasps exploded around the room. That's a lie, he shouted, stepping forward. She's jealous. Before he could reach me, Mr. Whitmore stood. I can verify the documents, he said clearly. They are legitimate, notarized, and dated over 15 years ago. My father turned to my mother. Ruth, he said quietly, dangerously calm. Is this true? She opened her mouth, closed it, then broke down sobbing. That was the answer. The celebration disintegrated. Chairs scraped. Guests whispered. Phones appeared. My father walked out without looking back. Dario screamed accusations, his carefully built image collapsing in real time. I placed the microphone down gently. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't smile. I didn't apologize. I walked out. In the weeks that followed, everything unraveled. My parents separated. My father apologized over and over, not for ignorance but for silence. My sister Talia reached out sincerely, trying to rebuild something honest. Dario sent messages filled with blame. I never replied. 6 months later, my life is quieter, smaller, healthier. I live in a new apartment. I work with kids who trust me. I drink coffee with my father on Sundays. I read Grandpa Elias's letters when I need reminding that I was never the problem. Sometimes truth doesn't bring joy. Sometimes it brings freedom. And that is enough. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me where you're watching from. Have you ever had to choose truth over family peace? Your story matters. And you are never wrong for refusing to carry someone else's lies.